Hello, friend. I'm Chris Ringler. You might know me as Spooky Chris. Welcome to my virtual pseudo almost convention. Since convention season is canceled or put off because of the COVID-19 pandemic, I figured I would give you a tour of what it would look like if I were at a convention. This will be much more enthusiastic and exciting for me because I'm not great at selling my stuff. I am a writer and occasional artist and once in a while filmmaker and podcaster. You can find all my stuff at spookychris.com. What I won't do is I won't carnival bark at you. I won't force you to buy my stuff. I always feel like if you are into it, then I'm going to sell it to you. If you're not, then I'm not going to force it. So what we have here. So you have my art done with loving care. Once in a while I'll bring photography out, but I paint very poorly and I try to sell them to fools like you. I also have my short films. I Am the Door, backed with The Last Halloween. Two creepy little slices of weirdness that I think everyone would get a kick out of. Short, creepy, fun films made for you and for me. Now for the main act. I am a writer. That's what I've been doing for a long time. That's what I want to talk to you about. So, my newest book is called Tattered Tents and Whispered Wishes. This is the timeless tale of a oddball kid trying to find love and answers as they chase after the doomed and damned fair, which is basically your county fair, which takes as many bodies as it leaves. It's a creepy little book. I like it. It should be a quick read. I wrote it last fall after my own run-in with a weird little fair, and I think you will like it. The book before that is In Roots of Ash. This is a kind of a novel of short stories. It is a compilation book, big old thick guy, about a weird mythos I made up of a forest that is haunted by witches. And these are the stories of those witches, and then the book culminates with a short novel, or novella, if you will, that kind of wraps up the whole series. Before that book, I wrote Roadkill, which is the story of an outsider that comes to a small town and finds bigotry and hatred and uncovers secrets that the town would rather not have discovered. Very mean and nasty book, and I love it to my core. I actually have written a sequel to it that'll be out later in 2020. As if it's 2019. 2020. So this year. Dogs bark. I wrote a zombie book called Cemetery Earth. It is a novel of short stories with two main characters. I had started this in 2000 before zombies were a big old deal. I stopped writing it when zombies seemed like they were going to peter out, and look at that, they still haven't. So I have like a funky take on things, which every author says that, like, oh hey, zombies are clowns. This is I kind of have my own thing for it, so it's one of my favorite books I wrote. I dig it, and I like that the main characters are younger. A short, slim book of short stories called The Lies We Tell Tomorrow that had come out, and these are some mean old short stories. Short stories are where I cut my teeth. And my first collection of short stories in the aughts was This Beautiful Darkness. I wrote this in 2000, put it together in 2009. My first book, Back from Nothing, came out in 1999 when I was a wee lad. It's rough around the edges, but the honesty and kind of bare bones look and feel of it, I still appreciate. I have another collection called Red Dreams. These are some mean mammoth jammas. This was, for whatever reason, I think it's the cover, is always a big seller with the kids. Kids these days, reading it down by the river. I have another short story collection. As I said, I love short stories and I love collections. This was trying to be as mean and down and dirty as I could be. And that was the hope of that one. My big epic, Shadow Over Ever, is the lovable story of a hateful man with a pumpkin on his head. A man that doesn't believe in a god that he ends up fighting a war for. It's about the first children of Eden and the last war on Earth. It is chock full of weirdness and hillbillies and zombies and monsters, and it is super duper weird and fun. It's big. It's a big old book. But I don't just write that stuff. I'm an oddball, and I have written a fantasy series, starting with the Meep Sheep, the Creep Sheep, and then the Last Sheep. And the stories age up with the reader, so they're kind of all ages, but they age up. The Meep Sheep, the whole series basically tells the story of a young woman who is set to become the queen of her land, the land of man, and she doesn't want to. She wants to become an artist. So she is forced with making a decision that is to follow her heart or follow her destiny. And the series follows her and her family and their tribulations and the fight that they have with a witch that has started to grow into power in that area. And the series culminates with The Last Sheep, and it's the darkest of the three because it's a war story. And I think it's a heck of a wrap-up. And in the last couple of years, I've started to write kids' books. The first of them was Danny Frankenstein, inspired by some folks we had out at a horror convention we had booked, some friends and I. And it is about a young boy dealing with loss and kind of finding himself and the world again through monsters and his love of the Frankenstein monster. It is a book for kids into monsters and monster kids. All of my kids' books are kind of for all ages. They can have dark subject matter, but there's nothing adult to them. Marilyn the Werewolf, I wrote on the passing of my mother in her honor. It is about a young woman, young girl, trying to discover whether or not there is a werewolf in her neighborhood. My book, Little Sue and the Monster, which was illustrated by a talented artist named Julie Hurst, is about a little girl that is dealing with the divorce of her parents and the monster that she lives with that is left over from this divorce. The last of my kids' books is Little O and the Storms, which is about a young girl who is bullied and who has to find it in herself to fight back without raising her fists. And I think it's a pretty cool book. And so this is what I do. As I say, I'll never push everything on you. I think I have a pretty wide variety. I try to keep my prices as low as possible because I, like you, don't have money falling out of a tree. Can't shake them and get bells out. So you can find all my stuff at spookychris.com. I have a podcast. I have all information there. My blogs. You can find all my books on amazon.com. You can even search me, Chris Ringler. Go past the criminal record stuff, you'll find all the cool stuff. Thank you for coming to my virtual convention. I hope you like what you saw. Stop by my website, spookychris.com, and listen to some podcasts. They're micro podcasts, so they're about 15, 18 minutes. Just like me, blah, 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 and then you get to go away. It's handy that way. Thank you, friend. Take care.